and watching helplessly while the government installed pro-abortion judges top to bottom on the federal bench. But we fought in 2016 for a different future. We fought for them, the mothers and the children, and they are worth fighting for. We fought and we won together. We won an historic opportunity. Thanks to your support, if we elect a pro-life Senate this year, we have a fighting chance to do what the pro-life movement has wanted to do since 1973, to overturn the great stain on our national conscience, Roe versus Wade. Had we stood down and allowed the forces against life to appoint new Supreme Court justices, today's opportunity would have been shut down, closed off, lost for a generation at least a generation, if not forever. But now, why do we have this chance? Because of all your hard work, your contributions, your time, your talent, your love, and because of the grace of God, to whom we give thanks. But it's also because of one man who stood up for the unborn boys and girls, who invited us in and who kept his word. Many doubted, and that is understandable. We've been betrayed before. He had no record to run on. But I am here to tell you today that when it comes to life, President Trump is keeping his promises. A man of his word, he has talked the talk and he has walked the walk, starting well before his swearing in. He is fighting the good fight. Yes, he's been hard at work stopping our tax dollars from funding abortion at home and abroad, but he's done more. He's been reforming the courts at a record pace with judges who respect life, the Constitution, and the will of the American people. But he's done more. Yes, personnel is policy, and some of the key people here tonight are testimony to President Trump's commitment to life. Kellyanne Conway, Mark Short, Paul Teller, Nick Ayers, Justin Clark, Sarah Sanders, Johnny DeStefano, and there are so many, including all the cabinet secretaries. It's impossible, and that speaks loudly, to mention all of them. President Trump has done everything in his power to protect unborn children and their mothers and get American taxpayers out of the abortion business for good. He is the most pro-life president in history, and he will do more if we fight for his pro-life agenda at the polls in November. We must have a Senate that's not just Republican, but pro-life. And with your help at the Susan B. Anthony list, we have assembled the largest ground game in the nation for this purpose. This November, I promise you, and I promise the pro-abortion forces, we will be visiting millions of homes, letting voters know what their elected officials are doing here in Washington, having life-giving conversations, not just with partisans, but with citizens of every race, every creed and color, who know that late-term abortion is an abomination that must end, and that they and their children are worth fighting for. This is an historic moment, and dear friends and people of good conscience, we are at the cusp of changing history and restoring our right to fight for the laws that protect children and women in every state in this country. We are one Supreme Court judge away, and we need not only a president we trust to appoint, but a Senate that will confirm his judges. The moment is here, and the man is too. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the incredible honor and privilege to introduce to you tonight a man who has led as he campaigns, who has been as good as his word in fighting for life, a man who is worth fighting for because they are worth fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you, Marjorie, for that wonderful introduction. All my friends are out here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please. Hey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So nice. And I'm thrilled to be here tonight at the very first, and as the very first president, to address this incredible group of people. I have a lot of friends in the audience. They are incredible people. And I'd also like to thank the Susan B. Anthony List Chairwoman, Jane Abraham, and her husband, the Honorable Spence Abraham, for hosting this beautiful gala. Thank you both. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Beautiful job. And we're also very glad to be joined by many wonderful members of Congress, including the legend from Louisiana, very brave guy, Steve Scalise. Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Hi, Steve. So I was going to ask all members of Congress to stand, but there's a short list. Should I just, we have to do this, right? They're fighting for you all the time, right? Don't you think? All right. You have Steve. Steve, stand. You have no problem standing. This guy's in better shape than all of us. Kevin Brady. Where's Kevin? What a man he is. How are you? Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Steve Daines. Steve Daines. Hi, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Great. Where's Roger Wicker? Roger. Roger. Right. You know, the problem with this, Roger, we're guaranteed to leave a few out, and they'll never speak to me again, but that's okay. We'll have you stand if I did that. A man who has been so incredible on television to me, Andy Biggs, Congressman. Andy Biggs. Where's Andy? Thank you, Andy. Now I don't have to call you and thank you. Thank you, Andy. Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, good luck. Will hopefully be our next senator from the great, great, great state of Tennessee. Good. And I just saw some great numbers on you, by the way. Where's Steve Shabrat? Where's Steve? Steve. Steve. How are you, Steve? Been help. Kevin Kramer, who's leading. He's leading in his Senate race. Kevin, where is Kevin? Kevin, you're leading. You know, we have a lot of people that are leading these races, and A number just came down from Reuters. You know, we were a few months ago 16 down in the generic poll, whatever that's supposed to mean, because nobody really knows what it means. But all I know is we were 16 down. Reuters just came out 2 hours ago, and we're 1 up. That's a big difference. And they say that to win, we have to be like, if we're 6 down, we're in okay shape. Well, we're 1 up. That's pretty good. So that's for the senators and for the congressmen and women. So that's it. But you're doing fantastic, Kev. Sean Duffy. Where's Sean? Where's Sean? Thank you, Sean. Great job. Ron Estes. Ron. Thank you, Ron. Jeff Fortenberry. Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Good job. A friend of mine for a long time, Virginia Fox. Virginia. Thanks, Virginia. Representative and Mrs. Gregg. Okay, where's Susan? Susan Gianforte. Where is he? Boy, he is a good campaigner. Great job. Great job. Thank you, Susan. Representative and Mrs. Andy, you know, they wrote this out. They said, and Mrs. Andy and Nicole. So we're just going to say it. Andy and Nicole Harris. Stand up, please. Thank you. Great. Thank you. A man who is, I hope he's here because he's so busy, but a man who is a true champion, NCAA champion for numerous years. Like, I'm not sure he ever lost a match. Somebody said he's like 141-1, but that's not bad. Jim Jordan, where is he? Jim Jordan. Where's Jim? He is. Thanks, Jim. Thanks. Great champion. Mike Kelly, I watched him the other day. He was debating Maxine Waters. That was not a close debate. That was not a close debate, Mike. They should all be so easy, right, Mike? Congressman Steve King. Do you think Steve is conservative enough? Where is Steve? Hi, Steve. Is Steve conservative enough, folks? I don't know. You don't get more conservative than Steve, right? Thank you, Steve. Congressman Joe Lesko and Debbie, Mrs. Lesko. Where are you? Thank you, folks. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Dan Lipinski. Thanks, Dan.
It's Tucker Carlson in Washington. The regularly scheduled show will start in just a minute, but we're going to continue listening to the president at the Campaign for Life Gala here in Washington.
Oh, this man's central casting. I watch him all the time, don't know him well, but I'll get to know him. John Rutherford, where is he, John? Central casting. Great job, John. He's always defending me. Actually, most of you are always defending me, and that's okay. And from my neck of the woods, Claudia Tenney. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. And for those many that I've left out, I'm sorry, but I said, give me a totally complete list, and I will call you tomorrow, and I will apologize personally, all right? But every day between now and November, we must work together to elect more lawmakers who share our values, cherish our heritage, and proudly stand for life. And that is a great group of people I introduced, I can tell you that. We're also glad to be joined by a beloved member of my administration, a true fighter for faith and family, and your 2018 distinguished leader, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne. What a job. What a job she's done. She is some fighter. She'll do the shows that nobody else dares go near. I'll say, do this one or that one. No problem, sir. Others say, sir, do you think I could take a pass, please? I beg you, please. Great going, Kellyanne. Thank you. What a help. What a help. Finally, to all of the friends, activists, and supporters of the Life movement who are here this evening, so many. This was a record crowd. Your hard work helped us to achieve this historic victory, our historic victory, one of the great victories of all time in politics. That beautiful, beautiful evening, November. Remember that evening? Could it have been more beautiful? 2016. That November 8th, 2016. On the other side, you had some very unhappy campers. I get to watch. They were not happy. They were going to have a big, beautiful party. Didn't turn out to be such a good party. Now, for the first time since Roe v. Wade, America has a pro-life president, a pro-life vice president, a pro-life House of Representatives, and 25 pro-life Republican state capitals. That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Wow. That is pretty good. When I ran for office, I pledged to stand for life. And as president, that's exactly what I've done. And I have kept my promise, and I think everybody here understands that fully. One of my very first acts as president was to reinstate the Mexico City policy to prevent taxpayer dollars from funding abortion centers overseas. It's a little reminiscent of Ronald Reagan. A few months later, with Marjorie in the Oval Office, she was sitting there with us, and she stood then and signed legislation to overturn the rule that forced states to fund abortion providers with taxpayer dollars. Marjorie was there with me. We've appointed a record number of judges who will defend our Constitution and interpret the law as written. And we're putting onto the bench a record number of judges. And in a short period of time, we were going to have and are going to have probably the all-time record for the appointment of judges. And I'm very excited about that. My administration has also taken bold action to protect religious liberty. And today we are making another historic announcement. For decades, American taxpayers have been wrongfully forced to subsidize the abortion industry through Title X federal funding. So today, we have kept another promise. My administration has proposed a new rule to prohibit Title X funding from going to any clinic that performs abortions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're also seeking passage of the 20-week abortion bill, which would end painful late-term abortions nationwide. The House just passed the bill But Democrats in the Senate are doing everything within their power to block it, although some are actually on our side. But they are working overtime to block it. So the story is 18 midterms. We need Republicans, and that will happen. On this issue, like so many other issues, the Democratic Party is far outside the American mainstream. Far outside. The United States is one of only 7 countries in the world to allow elective abortions after 20 weeks, when unborn babies can truly feel the pain. Yet, Democratic senators like John Tester, Heidi Heitkamp, Claire McCaskill, Debbie Stabenow, all voted against the 20-week bill and in favor of late-term abortion. Got to get out and vote. We are 9 votes away from passing the 20-week abortion bill in the Senate, so we have to get them out there. The Democratic senators are up for re-election in 10 states that I won by a lot. And I think we're doing very well. We have some of those folks that are running right now, and they're doing very, very well. We have a big, big surprise in 6 months. Big, beautiful surprise. If we work hard between now and November, every one of these states can be flipped to a senator who shares our values and votes our agenda. Democrats like to campaign as moderates at election time, but when they go to Washington, they always vote for the radical Pelosi agenda down the line. Can you imagine having Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House? Can you imagine? No, can you imagine? That's why we're putting in place a massive campaign for a midterm victory this November. We will need to elect more members of Congress who will protect life, support our military, secure our borders, and grow our economy and continue making America great again. While Democrats in Washington are resisting progress, my administration is delivering progress for hardworking Americans each and every day, and we're doing some job. Since the election, we have created more than 3.3 million new jobs. And if I would have said that prior to the election, those people back there, you know who that is, right? That's called the fake news, They would have said, what a ridiculous statement. He's saying he's going to project 3.3 million new jobs. How ridiculous is that? Well, guess what? We did it. Fake news. Something I'm very proud of. African American unemployment is at the lowest level in history. Hispanic unemployment is likewise at the lowest level in history. Women unemployment is at the lowest level in 19 years. And something you haven't heard for 21 years, wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than time. They said 21. I did hear 19. I have to be very accurate with these folks. Let's put it this way. Wages are rising at a very fast level. Very fast. Got to be very careful. You know, when you say something, if it's like a little off, if I was off by a week and a half, it's a headline tomorrow. We got him now. Something very important, small business optimism, is the highest that it's ever been, ever recorded. And our great House Ways and Means Chairman, Kevin Brady, joins us tonight, has done an incredible job. Thank you, Kevin. With his leadership, Republicans passed the biggest tax cut and reform in American history. And we doubled the child tax credit. And we're going to be, with Kevin and the entire group, we're going to be submitting additional tax cuts sometime prior to November. It's going to be something very special. You see what it's done for the country. It's going to be something very, very special. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi and the group, you heard her the other day. She wants to raise your taxes. They want to get rid of the tax cut bill and raise your taxes. Somehow, I don't think that plays well, but you never know, right? Wants to raise your taxes. And my presidential budget was the first in history to include a proposal for nationwide paid family leave. Good, Steve. Good. We want to honor the invaluable time parents spend with their newborn children. On foreign affairs, you've been reading a lot about foreign affairs. We're getting very high marks on foreign affairs, actually. We are, as a country, respected again. It's been a long time. Because we've restored American strength and confidence. Our military, and we just had it approved, $700 billion. It's historic funding for our great military. $700 billion. And we have left the horrible, one-sided, miserable Iran deal. It's gone. One of the worst deals ever negotiated. We get nothing. We get nothing. We've moved our embassy to Jerusalem. Thank you. And we are renegotiating trade deals to bring jobs and wealth back home to America, where they and it belongs. Working hard on the trade deals. But if Democrats gain power, they will try to reverse these incredible gains. These are historic gains. They will try and reverse many of them. So your vote in 2018 is every bit as important as your vote in 2016. Although I'm not sure I really believe that, but you know. I don't know who the hell wrote that line. I'm not sure. But it's still important, remember that. That's why we will be campaigning for every last vote in every part of our great country. We will be campaigning for the votes of all Americans, whether they're registered as Democrats, and we got a lot of Democrats voting for us, as you know, in 2016. A lot. They couldn't believe it. They could not believe it. We got a lot of Barack Obama voters voting for us. We got a lot of Bernie Sanders voting for us. Can you believe it? Mostly people that didn't like getting ripped off on trade, Bernie Sanders voters. He was right about that, but he wasn't able to do anything about it. These are people that want a government that protects faith, family, and life. To support Republican candidates, I have helped raise a record-breaking $175 million for the Republican National Committee. Nobody has ever been close. And as part of our unprecedented effort, our great vice president, a true leader in the pro-life movement, Mike has been a true leader, has been working to elect more and more Republicans. We will be appealing to voters all across America who previously sent a Democrat to Washington only to discover they elected a proxy vote for Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. These are people that don't believe in borders, don't believe in fighting crime, don't believe in making a strong military. They don't believe in what the people in this room believe. That I can tell you. So we have to do a great job. If Democrats ever gained power, they would try to put up the taxes, so many things, open those borders. They don't want walls. They don't want people stopping. And the other day, just the other day, Nancy Pelosi came out in favor of MS-13. That's the first time I've heard that. She wants them to be treated with respect, as do other Democrats. That's not going to be happening. We're not going to release violent criminals into our country. We're going to shut down everything we have to shut down, and we're going to open up the great American energy. We are going to open up our energy, and in all fairness, that's already happened. We are now a net exporter of energy for the first time. And we all know what a Democratic majority would mean, especially for the people in this room on the Supreme Court. These are the stakes on Election Day, and this is why you need to fight for victory in November. We can't be complacent. What happens historically, a tremendous percentage of the time, you win the presidential election, you become complacent, you're happy. Oh, we won, isn't it wonderful? Then you have another election comes up pretty quickly. 2 years, all of these congressmen can tell you. See, the senators, they like their term a little bit better. How about changing some of them to 2 years too? I don't think it's going to be. That would be a tough vote in the Senate, wouldn't it? But all of a sudden you come up again. And they get complacent. They say, oh, we just won. So we sit back. The other side has energy. And they win. It's a tremendous percentage of the time. I honestly don't believe that's going to happen this time. And it's starting to show up in the polls. Really don't believe it. Every values voter must be energized, mobilized, and engaged. You have to get out there. This organization bears the name of one of the greatest champions of freedom in American history, Susan B. Anthony. She fought for decades to end slavery, to secure women's right to vote, and to respect the dignity of every single person. A great person, a great woman was she. Now we have a chance to honor her legacy and restore the first right in the Declaration of Independence. It's called the right to life. Here with us this evening are Lisa and Bruce Alexander and their family from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Good place. In January of 2012, the Alexanders attended the March for Life, and God put it in their hearts to adopt a beautiful child. 2 years later, in January of 2014, the Alexanders got a call that a baby had been born who was opioid dependent. She desperately needed a loving home. She was in serious, serious trouble. And the Alexanders welcomed her into their home with wide open arms. After the baby was treated for opioid withdrawal, they brought home their new and very beautiful daughter, Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Hi. Hi, sweetie. Come on up here, Catherine. Come on. Catherine's 4 years old, and she is full of incredible energy, spirit, and talent. At the age of 2, come on up, Catherine, she memorized America the Beautiful. She recites poetry, and recently she announced to her dad that when she grows up, she wants to be a famous police officer, and then, when she gets tired of that, she wants to become president. That's okay with her. She'll be president someday. Every time Catherine's older siblings come home from school, Catherine runs into their arms and gives them a great, big, beautiful hug. They're amazed by how much she loves them and how much they love her. So tonight, we celebrate you, Catherine. We celebrate your life. Thank you, darling. And we celebrate all lives. We celebrate the loving choice of adoption. Catherine reminds us that every life is sacred and that every child is a precious gift from God. So true. As the Lord says in Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. When a mother and a father hold a new baby in their arms, they are changed forever. When a child says, Mommy or Daddy, for the first time, there's nothing like it. Anywhere in the world, no matter what you do, there is nothing like it. And when parents watch their children thrive and grow, they're filled with a joy beyond words and a love beyond measure. You know that, everybody in this room. When we look into the eyes of a newborn child, there is no doubt we see the beauty of the human soul and the mystery of God's great creation. We know that every life has meaning and that every life is totally worth protecting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. When we stand for life, we stand for the true source of America's greatness. It's our people. Our people are great. It's the people who grace our lives, who sustain our communities, and who make America a nation, a home, and this magnificent land that we all love so much. As long as we have faith in our citizens, confidence in our values, and trust in our God, then we will never, ever fail. Our nation will thrive, our people will prosper, and America will be greater than ever before. And that's what's happening. So this November, vote for family, vote for love, vote for faith and values, vote for country, and vote for life. I want to just end by thanking the Susan B. Anthony list. You are very, very special people. It is a great honor for me to be here tonight. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Life and Liberty. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Those are the Rolling Stones, the background. Of course, that was President Trump speaking at the Campaign for Life Gala in Washington, D.C. Well, good evening and welcome to the show. You just heard from the president. Right now, though, we have a rare firsthand account from the center of maybe the greatest scandal in modern political history, the FBI spying on the 2016 Trump campaign for nearly 2 years. Obama administration officials and their dutiful lackeys in the press hysterically denied any of that even happened. Now we know that it did happen. The Obama administration used government agencies to surveil a rival campaign. There's no denying that now. So instead, the usual apologists are claiming it was a good thing, in fact. They were spying on Trump to protect him. And by the way, you have no right to know anything about it. Even asking a question is a sign of disloyalty. Shut up and obey. No thanks. Tonight, we have a direct account of what happened, the first full interview with a Trump campaign official who apparently was targeted by an FBI spy. Sam Clovis was a former national co-chairman of the Trump campaign. In September of 2016, he says he had a face-to-face meeting with a man who was believed to be one of the FBI spies on that campaign. Sam Clovis joins us tonight. Sam, thanks for coming on. So,
thanks, Tucker. Thanks for having me on.
You believe you had a face-to-face encounter with a man paid by Obama's FBI to spy on your campaign. Describe that meeting, if you would.
Several days before the September 1st meeting, I had the opportunity to receive emails from Stephen Halper. Dr. Halper had sent emails using the imprimatur of him knowing Carter Page and asked for a sit down with me. He just wanted to come in and discuss foreign policy and to provide what he thought might be some of his writings that would be able to contribute and help us in the campaign. I arranged that meeting. We had that meeting in Washington, D.C. on the 1st of September. It lasted about an hour. Had the opportunity to discuss over coffee with him his research, and it mostly was focused on China. And then I think after that meeting, and on the 27th of September, I received an email from him with several attachments. And I can be honest with you, Tucker, I haven't even opened those attachments to this day. I have no idea what was in them, but they were mostly titled papers that dealt with China. I think he used my meeting using my meeting as a bona fides with George Papadopoulos to have a meeting with him that I did not know about that was subsequent to my meeting with him on the 1st of September.
So you didn't know him before? He emailed you cold?
No, I did not.
No. When did you begin
this? It was a...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just got the email from Stephen that asked for the meeting, and he used the fact that he knew Carter Page, and of course
Right.
Carter had been associated with our campaign.
At what point did you begin to suspect he was working for the FBI, seeking to gather information surreptitiously on the campaign?
Well, our meeting was like two faculty members in the faculty lounge, so I didn't think anything of it until I saw the reporting that started to come out only recently. And then I started to put two and two together. And then it started to make sense to me that perhaps he was probing to find a weak spot in our campaign, someone who might be vulnerable to connecting things back to those elusive 30,000 emails that supposedly the Russians had. And I really think that was what his task was to create an audit trail back to those emails from someone in the campaign or someone associated with the campaign so that they could develop a stronger case for probable cause to continue to issue warrants and to further an investigation. Because I really felt after hearing all of these other things and listening to the reports that I've read, that this truly was an effort to build something that did not exist. And I really think that was what his mission was.
Why haven't you read the attachments to his emails?
Well, one, I was busy. I worked 16 to 20 hours a day. We already had a lot of help on foreign policy in the areas of China. I really didn't think that they were going to contribute anything. And frankly, I've gone back and reviewed all my emails. I didn't report that meeting to anyone in the campaign, so the meeting was of no consequence to me as far as anything I could remember. And I've looked through all of my personal emails and everything, and I can't find a record of it at all.
Interesting. But that meeting may have played a key role in a much larger story. Sam, thank you for that account. Appreciate it.
Well, it's great. Thanks for having me on tonight, Tucker. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, the message of recent news coverage is pretty simple. You need to trust the FBI, the DOJ, the intelligence community. Demanding any congressional oversight at any kind is evidence of treason. John Kirikow was a longtime CIA counterterrorism officer in the Middle East, Pakistan, all over the world. He was imprisoned for a couple of years by the Obama administration for leaking information. During the course of that, his life intersected with Robert Mueller and John Brennan, among others. He joins us tonight. John, thanks a lot for coming out.
Thanks so much for having me.
So a lot has been written about your case. You wrote a book about your time in prison. Not much has been written about your intersection with two men in the news now, and you did intimately. Brennan, with whom you worked for many years,
yes.
And Robert Mueller.
Yes.
Tell us what you learned.
Well, Robert Mueller, I had a more recent encounter with, and that was when he created the John Kiriakou task force at the Justice Department. He was the head of the FBI at the time. I had no idea that I was under investigation. When I went public on the CIA's torture program in late 2007, the Bush administration investigated me and determined that I hadn't committed a crime. They closed the case. Just a few weeks later, when Barack Obama became president, John Brennan became the #2 at the National Security Council, and he asked the Justice Department, Eric Holder, to secretly reopen the case against me. That went to Robert Mueller. He created this John Kiriakou task force and investigated for 3 more years.
You're telling me that John Brennan, who has a documented history of leaking to the press, asked for a criminal investigation into you, which resulted in you going to prison with 5 kids because you leaked?
Exactly. And you know, when I said that to my attorneys, the only response they could come up with was, "That's Washington." The injustice is incredible. And this is why I'm so happy to have this opportunity to speak with you tonight, because I know Robert Mueller and I know John Brennan, and this is what they do. They set out to ruin people. You know, we look at these indictments in this so-called Russiagate that has nothing whatsoever to do with Russia, by the way. And none of these indictments have anything to do with anything. They're what are called throwaway indictments. So what you have is a man, Robert Mueller, who chooses a person and then looks for a crime to hang on the person, rather than discovering a crime and then investigating to see who committed the crime.
I just can't get past the fact that John Brennan, again, with whom you worked for years, who we know leaked to the press classified information, agitated for you to go to prison because he said you leaked.
In fact, it was even worse than that. Once I was arrested and we received discovery from the Justice Department, we received several memos between John Brennan and the Justice Department. The first memo said, charge him with espionage. And then the Justice Department wrote back and said, but he hasn't committed espionage. And then Brennan wrote back, charge him anyway and make him defend himself. And that's what they did. And what they do, and this is what Robert Mueller did, he he waited until I went bankrupt 10 months later and then dropped the charges. Again, that's what they do. It's a way of exerting pressure that you just simply can't resist. They have unlimited resources, and you don't.
We don't have time to get into the details of your case. It's easily available online. I followed it because I'm a journalist. I would just say two things. I wish more journalists had supported you. I think you were shafted.
Thank you.
And I hope you get pardoned because you deserve it.
Thank you. You know, this president, more than any other president, I think, sees injustice. And this president is unique in a very important way. Most presidents, when they give pardons, they do it in what's really called a lame duck period after an election. This president pardons people when he sees an injustice. And there was another president that did that. That was Abraham Lincoln. He pardoned people through his entire administration. And I'm confident that if I can get in front of President Trump, he'll see that this is an injustice and he'll right it.
Well, it is an injustice. And the fact that Brennan was behind it is shocking. John, thank you. And
thank
good
you
luck.
so much for the time.
Appreciate it. Democrats obviously planning to impeach President Trump next year if they win the House. That's real. Their leaders won't admit it. That's odd. That story next.
I discourage any discussion of impeachment. On a political side, I think it's a gift to the Republicans to talk about impeachment.
The last thing this country needs is impeachment proceedings that move forward as a matter of course because we don't like the president.
You can't jump the gun and determine that somebody should be impeached when you're going to be voting on the impeachment issue. It is too early to talk about impeachment.
Oh, they're all lying. The entire Democratic Party base wants the president impeached. John Nichols writes for The Nation, has wrote a piece asking, why are so many Democrats afraid of impeachment? John Nichols joins us tonight. John, I don't think I agree with you on much. Normally, I'd be here arguing with you, but I'm just going to give you a sincere compliment. I thought your piece was honest. This is the constitutionally prescribed remedy for a president you think has gone off the rails. I don't believe that. You do, but impeachment is the answer. Democrats support it. Why are the leaders of the Democratic Party not willing to admit that?
I think they're playing a political game. And I think that you assume that they would impeach if they got power. I'm not sure of that. I think that there is a tepidness about using impeachment as a live instrument of the Constitution, holding a president who has, as you suggest, gone off the rails, who I would suggest abuses the office, to account. And but clearly, at this point, there's a tremendous pressure on members of the party and on folks to not talk about impeachment. My sense is that's very problematic, because if you are saying that the President of the United States has abused his office, if you are suggesting that he's doing things that are clearly impeachable, but then you say, well, but let's not talk about impeachment, that creates an unreality to the discourse. And I think, frankly, it's not appropriate. I think that A, discussion of impeachment is healthy. I think it's necessary. But B, it's also something that I think politicians of both parties tend to fear too much.
Well, but it's above, what I like about it, and again, I'm not for it, but it's above board. It takes place in public. And people can make their public arguments. And what they're doing instead is subverting entire federal agencies, and liberals should be worried about this, law enforcement and intel agencies, to do their bidding. Why do that? If you have a case, be a man about it, say what it is, voters can assess it. That's what impeachment is. That's why the founders put it in the founding documents. So why would the leaders of the party pretend, oh, that's off the table? It just seems so feline and dishonest.
Again, I'm not sure they're pretending, Tucker. We will see if Democrats get control of the House, whether they would move on it. But remember that back in the George W. Bush presidency, there was a significant agitation at the grassroots of the Democratic Party, and frankly beyond it, among a lot of folks, for impeachment of President Bush. Nancy Pelosi came to power. I know you do, because you actually followed it. And Nancy Pelosi came to power in 2007, and one of her first signals was off the table. And so this is a complexity on this issue. Now, where it goes back to, I think you and I both know, is the Clinton impeachment. And there's a sense that the Clinton impeachment led to political repercussions for Republicans. In fact, if you look at it, the repercussions were not as great as some people assume. But I always remind folks that if you look at the Nixon impeachment, which obviously wasn't brought to fruition, but was a very serious moment, there weren't political repercussions for the Democrats in that. And so I do think that we have a lot of politicians on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, who avoid accountability moments and frankly, avoid opening up the discussions when they should be doing so.
Exactly. They're avoiding accountability. And I have to say, again, I don't think I agree with you on anything, including what to order for dinner. But I appreciate the honesty of the actual left in this case, trying to hold your party, not mine, yours, to some account and to honesty. So thank you, John, for doing that. Not a backhanded compliment, a sincere one. Thanks.
I appreciate it, Tucker, and I'm sure I won't get any pats on the back for it. But
no, you definitely won't.
Okay.
Britt Hume joins us next for more on FBI spying and the latest twists and turns in the endless hunt for Russian collusion. Maybe he has evidence. We'll ask him next.
As an engineer, I know how to keep complex systems running like clock.
Not to mention the most handsome. Escape to BritBox. Start your free trial today at BritBox.com.
Where's the evidence?
Well, first, Tucker, don't confuse evidence with a conclusion. Evidence gives the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Look, I've been going through this for a year. Look, I watch Rachel Maddow. I get it. I know there are a lot of Russians and Russian people and emails, but like, where's the actual proof that something happened after more than a year of this?
Well, I'm not the prosecutor. I don't have subpoena power. Bob Mueller does. All I'm saying is
you do have a high-level security clearance, and you're on the Intel committee, so presumably you'd have more than like a clip of him at a
I'm only giving you the evidence that I've seen in an unclassified manner.
But there must be more classified that you're not allowed to see. We had a lively engagement with Congressman Eric Swalwell of California last night. We offered a half hour in order to see proof of Russian collusion, and there wasn't any. Meanwhile, today on The View, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, the one who lied to Congress on camera, said that President Trump wasn't being spied on by the Obama administration. They were just watching him, and Trump ought to thank them for that.
Was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand, were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage and influence.
So why doesn't he like
what they do?
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy that.
Well, he should be.
Yeah, he should be grateful. That ingrate. We're joined now by Fox senior political analyst Britt Hume. Britt, why isn't the president more grateful that the Obama FBI was spying on him for his own good?
It's interesting to hear Clapper use the word spying, because a number of the administration's defenders, the Obama administration's defenders in the media and elsewhere, have been very, very careful about using that word and saying that it really wasn't spying that was going on. It was an informant. But mind you, of course, this was at that stage, this was a counterintelligence investigation, which is to say that they were acting, the FBI was acting in its capacity as a spy agency when they sent this guy in to see what was, to see what he could find about what was going on inside the Trump campaign with regard to the Russians. So pretty hard to argue they weren't spying on him.
When did we become so blasé about it? I mean, you covered Watergate, and one of the gravest crimes that President Nixon was accused of committing was subverting federal agencies to gather intelligence on his political opponents. That's what people said he did. Use the IRS, people said. People were outraged by that. Journalists were outraged by that. Why aren't they outraged now?
Well, because they rather like the Obama administration and they cannot stand the ground Donald Trump walks on. That's really what this is about, the antipathy to him and the sense in the media and elsewhere that his election constituted a national emergency, which all efforts should have been made to prevent, which nobody thought was going to happen, and when it did, everybody's heads exploded, and this is where we are.
But wait, doesn't democracy die in darkness?
Well, of course, but there is this. The efforts of Russia to meddle in the election are worth investigating. There's no question about that. But if you are beginning to insert yourselves into somebody's campaign and you're worried about protecting the campaign, as some apologists for the FBI have stated, what would you do? Wouldn't you then go immediately and say to the people in that campaign, look, we need to tell you this. This is you got a problem here. You got the Russians trying to penetrate you here. That was considered, we now know, and it never happened.
Which is the most telling, and thank you for reminding us of that, the most telling detail. I agree completely. Britt Hume, thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
Well, the rest of us were distracted by the creepy porn lawyer. The U.S. seems to be lurching toward armed conflict. It's being debated in Congress right now. You haven't seen it anywhere else. We're going to tell you what's going on next.
technology